Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Capnclydes MTG. Another day, another spoiler leak, whatever. I'm losing hope. Anyway, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. It's free. Supports the channel. We're going to get giveaways. We hit 1,000 subscribers. Links in the description for the cool stuff and ways to buy cards to support the channel. Let's get into it. We got a lot to cover, so let's run it down. We're going to start with the Shepherd of the Clouds. A white and 4 for a 4/3 Pegasus, flying and vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card, mana 3 value or less from the graveyard to your hand. Return that card to the battlefield instead if you control a mount. Almost like Revel Art, kind of, sort of. It's okay, 5 mana. Alright, full steam ahead. We have here is 2 green and 3 sorcery until the end of turn. Each creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample. This creature can't be blocked by more than 1 creature this turn. I mean, for 5 mana, the best you're probably going to get out of this thing is just limited. If that, 5 mana for, well, I mean, it is each creature. Okay, let's put it in perspective. So, Overrun was 3/3 in trample. This, for the same mana, but only 2 green, is 2/2 in trample. So you lose a +1/+1, but your creatures can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. So, technically better, but may not be good enough for the current times. So anyway, moving on. Next, we have Hollow Marauder, black and 6 for a 4/2. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature in a graveyard. This is not Delve, so let's not get too carried away, but could be good. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, any number of target opponents, each discard a card. For each of those opponents who didn't discard a card with mana value 4 or greater, you draw a card. Could definitely be pretty good in Commander. It'll be iffy if this is any good in Limited. I mean, 4/2 flyer for 7. You'd have to make this worthwhile, you'd have to have at least 3 creatures in your graveyard. And probably going to happen, but if it doesn't, it would just suck. So, Next, we have Trash the Town, 1 green spree. So 1 green instant for a +2 colorless. Get 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature. For a +1, target creature gains trample. For another +1, until end of turn, target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards. Ooh, that's kind of cool. For a total of 5 mana, you can probably get your creature big enough with trample to go over somebody and draw 2 cards. Definitely going to be good in Limited, just because of the draw cards and the ability to pump your creatures. But I don't think this is going to be good enough in Standard or other formats. It's just, I don't think it does enough. Next, we have a Boombox. Ba-dum-bump. Anyway, I like how there's horseshoes all over it. 2 colorless artifact. 6 tap, sacrifice Boombox, destroy up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, and up to 1 target land. For 8 mana, that's not bad. It's probably going to be good in Limited, but I mean, Commander might play it because it is colorless. You can put it in any deck, but I don't think it's going much further than Limited. Next, we have Nurturing Pixie. Oh, look at that cute little fella. What the hell is with this face? Good God, that's scary. 1 white for a 1/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target non-fairy, non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, put a +1/+1 counter on Nurturing Pixie. I mean, a 2/2 flyer by picking up something that's a non-land seems fine. Maybe for Limited. I mean, it could be okay. Okay, so hear me out. It could be all right in Standard because there's cards like in the Boros, on the Boros deck currently, that when they come into play, they trigger and they make extra things. So you technically could put this in play, pick them back up, lay them again to get more creatures or clues or something like that. So maybe, kind of, sort of. We'll wait and see. Next, we have Stoic Sphinx, 2 blue and 2 for a 5/3 flash flyer. That's really good. It has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell this turn. I mean, that's pretty beefy, I ain't gonna lie. And you're going to get a free swing. Just make sure you cast after you punch people in the face with it. Putting that out there. Moving on. Next, we have Rankus Entertainer. Green and 1 for a 2/2. Plant Bard for 1 and tap. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that enters the battlefield this turn. Oh, man. This turn thing. I mean, it's still good for limited. It's a 2/2 for 2, so... Next, we have Obeka, Splinter of Second. So, black, red, blue, 1 for 2/5 with Menace. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. So, I've seen a lot of questions on this already. On whether you get 1 every time you do damage, or you get the number equal to the damage. I think it kind of reads that you'll get however much damage she does is how many upkeep steps you get. But I'm not sure. We're going to have to wait for an oracle on this one. Not really sure. I can see it go both ways. So we have a Claim Jumper, white and 2 for a 3/3 Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, if opponent controls more lands than you do, you may search your library for a Plains card, put it in the battlefield tap. Then if an opponent controls more lands than you, repeat this process once. If you search your library this way, shuffle. This is really, really good. This is one way to really ramp your deck back up and get back in the game. If someone gets ahead of you on land, like if they're at 5 and you're stuck on 3, playing this thing, getting 2 land out of your deck, and plus having a 3/3 Vigilance guy, seems really good. May not be all that sweet for Standard, to be honest. Limited, yeah. Commander, however, this is a thing. Because notice it says, search your library for a Plains card. Card, not basic. So in Commander, you can fetch up dual lands of all sorts, even the big pricey $500 ones. So yeah, I think Commander is going to make this card a staple. Moving on, we have Archmage's Newt, blue and 1 for a 2/2. Whenever Archmage's Newt deals combat damage to a player, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback to the turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. That card gains flashback 0 until end of turn instead if the Newt is saddled. Ooh boy, this is going to see a lot of play. Whether it's good or not is something we'll have to wait to see because it is saddle 3, which is pretty high. But there's going to be lots of different ways to try to break this card. Now in Commander, again, this is going to be something pretty sweet if they're playing creatures. But, I mean, blue with creatures, it's a thing. But, I mean, we could really see some cool stuff break off with this. We'll just have to wait and see. Next, we're going to have Ariti the Beguiler. So, black, blue, white, and 1 for a 4/4 lifelinker. Already sweet. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that aura's mana value, gain control of that permanent as long as that aura is attached to it. Holy cow. This just, So, if the mana value, to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that aura's mana value, gain control of that permanent. Sounds really good at start, but your enchantments will have to be the same cost as the things you're stealing. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure there's a commander deck in here somewhere that somebody's going to make. It's going to be just absurd. Because technically you could just have a bunch of pumpable enchantments that you literally just cast on your opponent's crap and steal their stuff and pump it at the same time. Like, that could just be a thing in Commander. Just putting it out there. All right, next we have Ferocification, red and 2 enchantment. Beginning of combat in your turn, you get to choose one. Target creature gets +2/+0, or target creature you control gains menace and haste. I mean, it's probably going to be fine for limited. Maybe. Just cause it can constantly pump or let you swing on first turn if something comes out. But other than that, probably not doing a whole lot. Next, we have Bounding Felidar. Oh, look at that. That does not look like a Felidar. Anyway, white and 5 for a 4/7. When it attacks while saddled, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. You gain 1 life for each of those creatures and saddles for 2. This is probably not doing anything. Nothing at all, probably. Honorary Tumblewarg, green and 2 for a 2/2. Begin combat on your turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. When the Tumblewarg attacks while straddled, double the number of counters. We've already seen this when it saddles for 2. This is going to be a serious player in Standard, Limited, and probably Commander. Just it does a lot. It makes itself big, makes other creatures big, doubles counters in counter decks. It'll be bomb. It's a good card. Cactus Folk, Sure Shot. Green, red, and 2 for a 4/4 reach creature with Ward 2. Already sweet. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control, power 4 or greater, gain trample and haste till end of turn. This is pretty amazing for an uncommon. It's going to be great for Limited. Sadly enough, I don't think it's powerful enough for Standard, because 4 mana 4/4 that gives other things haste and trample with reach and Ward 2 is actually on the low end of what good is currently in the format. When you could have a 4 mana 6/5 trampling worm. Yeah, there's lots of things to unpack about that, but we'll move on. Next we have Sterling Keykeeper, a white and 1 for a 2/2 for 2 tap target non-mount creature. Interesting. It's fine for Limited. Wanted Griffin, a white and 3 for a 3/2 flyer. It's pretty good. Whenever it dies, you get a 1/1 red mercenary that taps to pump things. Fine for Limited. Nothing wrong with that. Next, we have Failed Fording. For those of you who don't know, fording is when you try to cross a river if the picture didn't give it away. A blue and 1 instant, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control a desert, surveil 1. Basic removal for blue. Limited. Peerless Rope Master. I like that picture. Blue and 4 for a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target tapped creature to its owner's hand. I mean, it's fine, I guess. 5 mana 4/4. You can bounce something that's tapped. But then again, they've got to tap it. So, I mean, if you're ahead, this thing's just a 5 mana 4/4. But, I mean, fine for Limited. Then we have the Spring Splasher, blue and 1 for a 2/1. Whenever it attacks, target creature defending player controls gets -3/-0 to end a turn. This is insanely good for Limited. Simply because if you get 2 or 3 of these on the battlefield, your opponent can't kill your shit. Because once you attack, everything just starts shrinking down. As long as you're on the upside of the swing and doing more damage than you're taking, sound strategy. Rooftop Assassin. Black and 3 for a 2/2, flash, flying, lifelink. When Rooftop Assassin enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. I mean, it's fine for Limited, but that's really about it. Explosive Derailment. 1 red spree card. For 1 red plus 2 colorless, it deals 4 damage to target creature, or for +2, destroys target artifact. I mean, this is only good in Limited because it either destroys an artifact or deals damage for 3. It's basically 1 more mana for a Braid, and a Braid was pretty good, but it also deals 4 damage, not 3. So, as a common, I think this is pretty good for Limited. I don't think it's going to sneak into any other formats, but who knows? Next, we have Outlaw's Fury, a red and 2 instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 to end a turn. If you control an outlaw, exile top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So this is cool. Great for Limited. I don't think it's to see play anywhere else, but in Limited, doing this and being able to get a card off top of your deck to play the next turn is pretty sweet, along with pumping your creatures. So I think this is a pretty good card. Next, we have Rodeo Pyromancers, red and 3 for a 3/4. We've seen this one, I believe. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, add 2 red. Probably only good in Limited because you can't continually keep getting red, but not a bad card. Next, we have Reach for the Sky, Pilgrim. Well, just Reach for the Sky, actually. Green and 3 flash, enchant creature. Enchanting creature gets +3/+2 and reach. And when Reach for the Sky is put into the graveyard, you draw a card. Fine for Limited. We have Voracious Varmint, green and 1 for a 2/2. Has vigilance. You can sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Wow, this is a 2/2 in green with vigilance. That is basically a disenchant with legs. So if I can't disenchant you with it, I'm going to punch you in the face with it and kill your creatures if I block. This card seems amazingly good for limited. I'm surprised it's only a common. If there's a green deck, which I think there will be in standard, this will probably be a auto include, because there are artifacts and enchantments inside the current standard format that I think this will be needed to deal with those things. So yeah. Next we have Oasis Gardener, 3 colorless for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So this is limited all-star, mana fixing, mana dork, plus gain life. However, it is 3 mana, so probably won't see any commander play, because also being a creature makes it easier to kill, support, and so on. But yeah, good mana fixing for limited. Next, we have the Inventive Wingsmith, a white and 2 for a 2/4. Not bad. Beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, and Inventive Wingsmith doesn't have a flying counter on it, put one on it. Good for limited, not gonna lie. Oh, look at that. Bucolic Ranch, I think. It's a desert land, taps for colorless. Or tap, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a mount spell. That's cool. 3 colorless tap, look at the top card of your library. If it's a mount card, you may reveal it, put it into your hand. If you don't put it into your hand, you may put it on the bottom of your library. That's a cool search spell. Good for limited. Be nice including some commander decks, I believe. If they like playing mounts just because of what it does, or it causes a desert. But other than that, I mean, it might see standard play if mount decks become a thing, but I just don't think mounts are that good yet. Next, we have Breaches, the Blast Maker. Good God. Red, blue, and 1 for a 3/3 Menace Goblin Pirate. Already pretty good. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. When you lose the flip, Breaches, the Blast Maker, deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. So, this is nothing but upside. Yeah. In decks that make treasures or anything that makes any kind of artifact, that's easy for you to sacrifice, blood tokens, whatever, food tokens. This is going to be a powerhouse. I mean, either you copy your great spell, or you just blow something up. Creatures, your opponent. I mean, it says any target. This is going to be good in standard, I believe. Great in limited. And might be an all-star for commander as well, being at its blue-red. With the blue-red decks often having many spells that are damage dealing or a card draw, which can have very large mana costs. For example, in Commander, if you cast Treasure Cruise and you delve, so it's only 1 blue, the actual mana cost is still 7 or 8, whatever it is. So if you win the flip, you draw 6 cards for 1 blue. Freaking amazing. If you lose the flip, oh darn, you only draw 3 and blow something up for butt tons of damage. Yeah, this is a really good card. I expect to see this in lots of decks. Commander, played in limited. I expect some standard shenanigans to try to get jumped off with this. I like it. All right, we have one last job. 2 white and 2 for a Sorcery Spree card. For +2, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So 5 mana, reanimate, and white. For 1, return target mount or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's really good. 4 mana, you can get mount creatures that are very powerful. For 4 mana, which is +1, return target or equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature you control. Probably won't see a lot of play in many formats. Maybe a little bit in limited, depending how your deck's set up. This is probably going to be more of a commander card more than anything, because it's really high cost value. And you really need to have lots of options in your graveyard so you can use all the spree abilities. Just so you can make sure to get your value out of it. Next, we have the Mystical Tether. So, white and 2 enchantment. You may cast as though it had flash if you pay 2 more. When it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So, basically an Oblivion Ring. And you can Flash it in for 5 if you're feeling froggy. Good removal for limited. Next, we have the Blood Hustler, black and 1 for a 1/1. Whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on Blood Hustler. This triggers only once each turn. For a black and 3, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So, yeah. So for 4 mana, you can make your opponent lose a life, you can gain a life, and put a counter on this guy because that's a crime. Really good. Next, we have a Laughing Jasper Flint, red, black, and 1 for a 4/3. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of your target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type may be spent to cast those spells. Huh. Oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, I don't know what to say other than the fact that this is going to mill somebody to death in limited. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's a rogue, so you're going to get at least 1. And when you start casting your opponent's creatures, that means you get to exile 2 and then 3. This very well could make a... You could mill somebody to death in standard with this thing, just having 4 of these in your damn deck. I don't know what to say about this other than it seems really overpowered for 3 mana. At least it's got 3 toughness, so you can kill it easy. But man, this this seems really good. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh boy. Oh yeah. Moving on. Map the Frontier, black, green, and 3 colorless. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards or deserts. Put them on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Not bad. Next, we have Omenport Vigilante, white and 1 for a 2/2. It has double strike as long as you've committed a crime this turn. It's fine for limited. Next, we have Gila Courser, red and 2 for a 4/2. When it attacks while saddled, exile top card of your library till the end of your next turn. You may play that card. Only saddles for 1. This is an amazing card for limited. Again, it'd be good in standard if there's a saddle deck in standard, but I just don't know. The toughness is so weak. I almost don't think it's worth it, but we'll have to wait and see. Next, we have Rush of Dread, 2 black and 1. It's a spree card. It's a sorcery. For an extra 1, target opponent sacrifices half of the creatures they control, rounded up. For an extra +2, target opponent discards half their cards in their hand, rounded up. And for an extra +2, target opponent loses half their life, rounded up. Oh god, this is already a combo with the fucking bat from Ixalan that says if your target opponent loses life, they lose twice as much. You put the bat out and you cast this thing for 5 mana, you just literally kill your opponent. Oh man. And that's just the first thing that came to my mind. I mean, I'm sure there's other weird shit going on out there in Commander. So, yeah, this card is probably going to be expensive. Anyway, moving on. Next, we have Deep Muck Desperado. It's a fucking lobster. Ooh, it's a Harmrid. Oh, it's a Harmrid. Oh, Fallen Empires. Anyway, blue and 2 for a 2/4. Whenever you commit a crime, each opponent mills 3 cards. This ability triggers on once each turn. Not bad. Really fun in Commander. You can just start poking people and watch them mill themselves to death. But of course, that will also trigger a giant hate crime on you once you commit a crime on them. So, probably wouldn't want to do that. All right, moving on. We have Betrayal at the Vault. 2 green and 4 instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each of 2 other target creatures. So, I would normally say this is good removal. However, this is 6 mana. I mean, if you in limited, if you've got some death touching going on, and you pop this out on 6 and death touch 2 things down, then good for you. Or wait till you lay your big nappy. I mean, unlimited, I'm sure it'll work in limited to some degree. But this is just way too much, way too much mana. All right, we have Calamity, Galloping Inferno, 2 red and 4 for a 4/6 haste and horse mount. Wow. Whenever it attacks while saddled, choose a non-legendary creature that saddled it this turn. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of your next end step. Repeat this process once. Wow, so you get to do it twice. There's lots of nasty things you could saddle this horse up with and do scary stuff. Now, with that being said, it is legendary. It is 6 mana. Probably not going to see a whole lot of play. Not even going to lie. I mean, this might be something for Commander. Decent and limited at least. But I'll have to wait and see. But I don't think it's going to do a whole lot. Probably the bulk bin. Caustic Bronco. That's kind of cool. Except this whole snake head thing. Anyway, black and 1. Snake horse mount. Snake horse, huh? 2/2, whenever Caustic Bronco attacks, reveal a top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's mana value if Caustic Bronco isn't saddled. Otherwise, each opponent loses that much life. So I'm not going to lie. This is a 2/2. I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, it's a 2/2 of that one thing. That's a 2/1 that you reveal top of your deck, goes in your hand, lose that much life. It's in modern. This is going to be a standard version. Should you saddle it? Yeah, you should. Do you care if it's saddled? No, you don't. It says draw a card. And if you're losing life, you probably have a deck that doesn't really care to lose life. Because drawing cards is always just better, especially if you happen to flip over a land, because then it's nothing. I think this is going to see play in some way, shape, or form. And if it doesn't, don't worry, I'll try it because I'm into this shit. This is definitely got me written all over it. And yes, I have a problem with really bad cards. But anyway, moving on. Next we have Pitiless Carnage, black and 3 sorcery. Sacrifice any number of permanents you control, draw many cards. You can plot it for 2 black and 1. This is going to be a good card. In a land full of treasure, food, blood tokens, and what have you, this is insane draw power, even at sorcery speed. Plus, if you plot it and you got time, like, this is just absurd. I don't know how else to say it. Just absurdly good. And I think someone's going to break it. It's going to be good in standard. In limited, it's only going to be okay, depending on what kind of shenanigans you got going on. Commander, bomb. Because of the cost, it probably won't see play in some of the older formats, but it might, depending on what that format's doing with those cards that are in it. Yeah, I mean, this might even sneak its way into some eternal formats, depending on what this thing wants to do. This is good. And if I'm wrong, then sorry, but I think this is good. Anyway, moving on. Next, we have Doc Orlock, Grizzled Genius. Get it? Grizzled. It's a bear. Anyway, blue and green for a bear druid. It's a 2/3. Spells you cast from your graveyard or from exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards from your hand cost 2 less to cast. This is going to make a plot deck as standard. This is also going to be a limited bomb. This is also, in my opinion, the perfect reason to make a plot / cast from exile / cast from graveyard deck for Commander. This is your boy right here. I cannot wait to make a deck with him as the Commander. This thing looks fun. So fun. How fun? I don't know, but it's going to be degenerate. Is it going to win? Probably not. However, the few times it does, it's going to be demoralizing, and I'm going to be giddy about it, and because that's just how I am, because I've got vices. Anyway, moving on. So, next we have the Prairie Dog. Wait a minute, it's a squirrel. When are prairie dogs a squirrel? Anyway, moving on. White and 1 for a 2/2 lifelinker at the beginning of your end step. If you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on the Prairie Dog. It's poking. White and 4 until end of turn. If you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, put that many +1/+1 counters on it instead. Oh, so if you put a counter on, if you play the 5, you put a counter on something, you get 2. I mean, fine for limited. It's a 2/2 lifelinker that May get bigger if you don't cast, so like it's probably good enough for limited. I don't think it's good enough for standard for the simple fact that if it stays alive long enough to get to be a 4-4 or a 5-5, you're probably winning anyway. Just throwing it out there. So, and with that said, this little doggy or prairie squirrel creature thing, anyway, that's all we got for today, guys. Thanks for being with me. Until next time, be kind, and as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Hopefully, not prairie dogging a squirrel. It just, I don't know. Anyway, later.